Hey, welcome to the studio. I'm Erin Carlisle. I'm an artist and a wellness coach, and today I'm going to be going through an illustration painting of a wildflower bouquet. And I'm kind of approaching it a little differently today than some of my past artwork. I'm really just playing around, experimenting. I'm trying to bring together a couple of different elements that I really enjoy, which is watercolor and kind of this intuitive botanical look, and then paint pens. They're acrylic paint pens, and I really like, they allow me to do the pen and ink that I really like, with also I'm hoping will give me the messiness that I like to do with acrylic paint. So we shall see. I might have built this up more in my head than what I can do. These are the paint pens that I'm going to be using today, and I'll list them in the description. And then also these are just a basic little set of watercolors I actually picked up for my kids, but I was like, you know what, I think for today's purposes this will do just fine. So anyways, let's get started, and let's hope it goes well. So to start off, I start sketching using my reference photo that I'll share right here, and I don't try to draw it realistic. I try to draw it quickly, not as quickly as my video is going because I did speed it up, but I did try to go quick and loose with it and not focus on trying to get it realistic, but more just capturing the shapes of every flower and the foliage. And again, not having every edge exactly what was there, but more just kind of like if you're looking at it in nature, you see all these different shadows and shapes, but it's not necessarily like if you were to get up close, that's not what you would really see. So that's kind of how I approached this, and knowing that it's kind of a rough guide that's gonna change as the piece goes, because I'm gonna fill in with color and there's going to be layering that happens that'll give a little more detail. This piece, I'm not trying to make it realistic anyways. I wanted it to be a lot more of a loose, messy, intuitive type feel to it. And I say intuitive because I really followed just kind of what felt right, and with some of the colors and adding shades, like the lights and the darks in different areas as I get into the piece, and I'll explain more on all of that as I get going. So I'm gonna stop talking for now and I will chime back in as I get to the painting part. Oh, I did want to add right here that I started kind of making up things going downwards, because my initial thought was that I wasn't going to do it in a pot or anything. The illustration or the reference photo was like in a burlap sack type thing, so I didn't want that, and I wasn't necessarily going to do a pot, but I didn't center the flowers well on the page, so I had all this empty space as I got towards the end, and I was like, I guess I need a pot, otherwise it looks real weird. So that's kind of why I added things that weren't really there from the reference photo. Now here you can see I am taking the watercolors. These are the basic set of watercolors that were for my kids, and I'm not being too particular about getting the exact colors. I just got in the same color family as from the reference photo, and the colors are really off, especially this pink. But again, I wasn't really concerned because I knew that this was kind of the underlayment, and it was just going to really help to start to see where the colors vary, and to be able to tell all my, there's a lot of sketches that happen there, so it was all kind of blending together. So at this point, it was just about getting color down so I could start to separate the different types of flowers and what was what at this point. And so I fill in and just do, again, a very casual approach to the color, knowing full well that I was going to be layering on top of this. Here you can see that I start because I was already using this kind of aqua teal, bright turquoise color. That is one of my favorite colors. So I try to bring it into my artwork a lot. So I was filling in some of the foliage, and then I decided to use it as kind of a way to mark some of the shadows on this other plant as well. Again, just getting a general idea of where some of the shadows were falling, and not being too precise. You'll see that as a recurring theme through all of this. So here again, I'm just starting to build up some of the dimension by coming in where I see some shadows. And it's kind of like I said, if you're looking in nature and you're from a distance, so you can't see the details. That was how I really tried to keep my focus on all of this. I didn't want to get into the nitty-gritty details, because sometimes I can do that, and on certain times I love that, but that's not what I wanted. And I really found that most of the time, as far as artwork that I create myself, I tend to like things that are looser and messier and just have this really kind of free feeling to it. And so that's where I'm going to be focusing a lot more of my attention over the coming months. I've really been wanting to paint more and to paint in this style. Also, now this black I started adding in, and at one point I was like, and I just ruined it all. I was like, holy, it looks so bad when I got done with all the black. Because I was like, okay, you know, one thing is that a lot of us are scared to go dark. We tend to get our colors almost muddied up because you don't do that, the really dark and the really light. The almost to the white or almost white, and then either a black or almost black. The contrast is what will give things a lot of interest. I had an art teacher when I think I was 14, that this was like a huge thing that he really made a point with us. And it made such a difference in my work. I could tell what he was talking about, because when you look at something, there's always going to be that really dark shadow, even if it's right up against something. But we tend to kind of not want to do that and leave it alone. And so, anyways, after I had done this, I was like, oh God, it looks so bad right now, because I kind of liked how it looked with all the white gaps. But again, different look, different time. It does come together quite nicely, I think, at the end. I did see some ways I could improve and change in the future, of course, but that's what we do, right? We learn as we go. I feel like this is when the fun really started happening for me, because I wasn't really sure what to expect. I kind of had this general idea of what I thought might happen, and by the time I finished this first flower, I guess really the two, I think I that I'm kind of in tangent back and forth. But by the time I finished up the flowers, I was like, yeah, I'm liking this. Like this, I might start doing a lot of artwork this way. My only concern is being limited to the colors that I have in the paint pens if I started doing that, but we'll see. But I was really happy because it was kind of pen and ink techniques, approaches with lines, but also I really like kind of like the color blocked look. So I was kind of keeping that in mind. I wanted it to blend a little bit, but more of this color blocked look that is if I took colored ink but was doing pen and ink styles, and then also being able to layer like I love doing. That's one thing I love about acrylic paint, is just the interest that you get from really building up layers that you just don't get if it's a single layer of paint. Again, this is my own personal take, but I gravitate towards things that have a lot more layers and kind of unexpected things that happen in it. And so I really loved how this technique started coming together, and I'm very excited to be doing more of it in this way. So I think the main thing to remember if you decide to try this technique, this style, is to really just focus on the fact that you're layering. Do not get too caught up in the beginning parts with trying to get all of the detail. And this is really a lot more about the color you're seeing and the values you're seeing. So the darks and the lights, and then also to have fun with the color. I did not stick with the color scheme exactly to the photo. Partially I was using paint pens, but also I just chose colors that were in the family of each flower and the foliage that I just gravitate to, or that I really like. So I'm just gonna keep going, layering, adding, and I'm gonna stop talking for the time being. And just feel free to leave any questions that you have, in the comments, and I will try to give more insight. If just something wasn't clear, or you'd like tips or feedback or anything of that nature, and I will do my best to try to answer. I do also want to comment real quick, the squiggly lines that are around the outside of the flowers, I really liked those, but I do cover, you can tell from the cover image for what this was going to be, that I covered them up. And I did that because at the end of it, I didn't like how bright of the pink it was. So I wish I would have done it lighter. Thinking back, I could have lightened it up just going over with water because I had used the watercolor. But I'm kind of rusty to using watercolor, so that didn't cross my mind. I was just like, I don't like these. I want to cover over them. So my mind went to how acrylics are. You just cover it. So anyways, that's one thing I wish I would have changed. I did like the energy. I did kind of like just that free flowing coming from the bouquet. I just wasn't happy with how bright, kind of bubblegum pink it was. So, all right, well, enjoy. Let me know if you have any questions. And also, brand new channel, please subscribe if you are enjoying today's video. I would greatly appreciate it. Okay, so I wanted to chime in real quick about the line work on how I did the little branches here. And it might be hard to tell in the video. I hope you can see I stayed very sketchy, and I do this whenever I sketch with the pencil, and through the years I would try to refine it and like make the edges really smooth, and then it would, I don't want to say too perfect, but I just didn't like it. Like it felt like it lost character to me or something. And so I really work at keeping a really loose hand and trying to like allow the pencil to like skip lines so that it's not just a solid, even thickness of a line. I mean, if that's what you're going for, that's fantastic. But I really like the uneven, line weights and kind of missing spots and just that sketchiness. Again, I'm just very drawn to kind of that loose messiness, and I don't know, maybe because it comes so natural to me, but I spent a lot of years kind of refining and working on skills, to be able to control my pencil to do more. So it's kind of funny to go back to things that just were innate and very natural to me. So, but that's a very purposeful thing that I focus on whenever I'm doing line work. And I also chose to do, I believe it was 3 of them that I only did the outlines and filled in some of the solid colors. And then the 3 they're the same plant, but I filled more in with the color blocking approach. I think I used 3 colors plus some white to highlight a little bit more. Just to kind of give a little bit of variation, a little bit more interest. And now for that unplanned pot. I kind of like the round fat pots. I mean, I like a lot of different ones, but it just seemed to be, it seemed right. This is a very full bouquet, so I thought, hey, why not? So yeah, and then I decided to go with watercolor. I will say that I kind of wish I would have layered back with more acrylic on top. And I don't know, maybe in one of my next pieces, because I like this one, so I'm going to leave it as is. But as far as like things I could have done better, I maybe would have tried getting my regular acrylics out instead of just the paint pens and seeing if I can add some interest that way, because it does feel a little disconnected to me. But I just tried to get some of the shadows the shape of how it would be. And again, this is going off my mind. I do a lot better if I have a reference photo to see where the lights and the darks are and to really see shape. And I think on this it tends to look more flat because largely I didn't have something I was looking at. And so that is something that, you know, I definitely struggle with is being able to do something from my mind and making it have the right dimension and depth and all of that. Here you can see I started covering over the little squiggle lines, and I actually, because we're about to move, I didn't know where all my acrylics were, so I used, it's an acrylic gouache, but I think you could use regular acrylic, would have done just fine. I probably could have used the acrylic gouache on the pot, actually, would have made a lot of sense. So, and then I just wanted to add detail with the paint pens. Again, I should have curved it a little more, where they curved up, and it probably would have felt like the pot was curving a little more, and then adding shadow kind of under some of the foliage from the flowers just is what you would see more. And again, I wasn't going for a realistic look, but having some of those touches, even when you're doing something that's looser and messier and not, you know, realistic per se, it still helps give it the right dimension and feeling. So anyways, those are just ways that I saw that I could have improved and things I will focus on in the future at trying to address, and maybe finding something with a pot, or if I draw it and it's uncentered, adding more flowers or doing something. I don't know. It was kind of like I think I'll do this. I think that'll work. But overall, I'm really happy with how it turned out. Definitely room for improvement, but I think I could say that about everything I've ever created. So that might be the perfectionist in me. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know in the comments. And yeah, enjoy. This is about over. I'll show really close-ups. Sorry for some of the shaky camera work. But also, this took me 2 days, so you'll see a wardrobe change in my sleeves. But yeah, I spent 2 days, not all day, but 2 different sessions, 2 different days, life with kids. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully you'll stick around and see some of my next videos. Take care.